Hello everyone. This video is pretty technical, I guess, so I don't know how interesting it'll be, but I wanted to talk about a long-term project I'd like to attempt, which is to create a Chaghatay to English lexicon. Unfortunately, right now, there really isn't a single Chaghatay to English lexicon. You have to kind of use multiple dictionaries, and I think in the Chaghatay video that I did, I mentioned this, that you don't really have one dictionary to go to, and that you have to consult a few different dictionaries, and most people um, tend to use the Stein-Gass Persian dictionary. If this is for some reason become the received wisdom, and I understand why, but the usages in Stein-Gass and the orthography don't necessarily match up with Chaghatay. And kind of related to that, orthography and that sort of thing is Chaghatay, from what I've been able to see, is much less standardized and consistent in terms of spelling than Ottoman Turkish is. So that's kind of another problem. But I started looking recently of what you could use if you wanted to make a Chaghatay lexicon. And at first, I came across this dictionary of Sheikh Bukhari. I believe this is published 1880 or 1890. But this is the Lugati Chaghatay ve Turki Osmani. It's fairly long, a little over 300 pages of the actual text. And I would say, as I've started to kind of survey this and take some notes to do translation, the language is not terribly difficult or technical. And it's laid out quite nicely. So I thought as a start to try to begin translating just this dictionary into English, and in my kind of document, keeping the Chaghatay in the original script, and then obviously translating the Ottoman definitions into English. Um, and just doing this on its own would take several years of work from start to finish. So this would be a pretty long-term project. But what I considered is maybe trying to do a little bit of a more expansive lexicon modeled after Lane's Arabic lexicon. Open the image. So, Lane created a very detailed lexicon, and he used a lot of examples from Arabic literature to illustrate the definitions. Obviously, this took him many years to complete, just because of the kind of the sheer size of the Arabic corpus that he could access back then, and probably if you tried to do this again, you would have to add the even more material that we have discovered or re-examined since him. But anyway, I feel like this Lane's lexicon would be a good model because he cross-references it with literature, and he's produced these very systematic definitions. Now, I think in the case of Chaghatay, doing something like this would be not as challenging, simply because the corpus of text is way smaller. And really you don't have any Chaghatay texts extensively until the 19th century, which is kind of beyond what I typically study. But it doesn't really, the Chaghatay literature doesn't really kind of bloom in terms of number of texts until then. So I'd have to look at that. But overall, the corpus is not as large. So that's another reason I think this is a fairly manageable project, even if it takes me like, I don't know, five or 10 years to do. I think it's practical. And the other component that as a source that I would use is the Abushka Lugat. So this is from the 16th century. And there's a nicely done Turkish transcription of this. However, I also found the manuscript version on the Turkish manuscripts portal, and that would be helpful for the orthography, especially comparing it with what we just looked at on the screen, the orthography is shown by Sheikh Bukhari's dictionary. And the Abushka Lugat is helpful because, zoom in here, we have dates of verse to illustrate the definitions, and I'd have to study this more, but I would think that Bukhari's dictionary probably incorporates some of this, but I'd have to look at that more closely. And it has definitions from different works. So here we have explains the definition here, and then it gives an example in this from this divan, and then we have another example from another text called the Tawari and via the. So that's interesting. But to be more of a true lexicon, what I think I would do is also look at, well, obviously I would have to look at Alishir Navai's Turkic works for examples of verse, but also use the Baburname and the original Chaghatay as a source of examples, and then the Chaghatay translation of Yazdi's chronicle of Timur, the Zafarname. And I feel like that would give enough of a kind of range of registers. So, because obviously in the Abushka Lugat, maybe not obviously, but in the Abushka Lugat, we have mostly kind of examples from verse, and some other texts, kind of more like ornate insha texts. But if we have like Yazdi's History of Timur, which haven't studied closely, but it seems to have a kind of middle ground sort of diction and syntax, not too ornate, but not really kind of like Babur, whereas Babur would give, I think, a more vernacular register that would be useful for giving definitions. So that's what I'm thinking right now. This is kind of more of a video for me to think out loud. Now, the other aspect of this that I'd have to look at is to examine the Uyghur dictionary prepared by Henry G. Schwartz. Now, this is for the modern Uyghur language, and as or as it says in the description, he went to work to hunt down every Uyghur word, phrase, sentence, and saying in a large number of Uyghur sources published between 1954 and 1985. So this may also have some things that would be useful for Chaghatay, although obviously the usage and the definitions are probably a bit different in Chaghatay. But it could be helpful, I think, given that, as far as I know, modern Uyghur is fairly close to Chaghatay, as is Uzbek. But the goal of doing this lexicon would be to have a tool for people that want to work on pre-modern Eastern Turkic texts that there's really no dictionary for in English. There might be one into Russian. I don't know. And, you just have kind of glossaries sort of here and there, but nothing that's been sort of a systematic kind of lexicon like Lane for Arabic or Red House for Ottoman Turkish. And also, in terms of translating Bukhari's dictionary, I think that would, be the best kind of basis, because translating from Ottoman into English, there's a lot more. I feel like personally I could render much more precise translations from Ottoman instead of translating like from Persian or something, just because of my own skill. Now, there's one more source that just occurred to me that would need to be examined, and that is Sir Gerard Clausen's Sanglax, A Persian Guide to the Turkish Language. And this was a Persian text, obviously, for Chaghatay. And I actually did order a hard copy of this, so I would have that to consult. Now, obviously, this would require translating out of Persian, but I think this is also an important source because Sanglax, the original manuscript text, dates fairly early. Actually, correction, no, it dates to the mid-18th century, but still, this would be another important source to get definitions and to have another example, perhaps give some information on Persian synonyms or something. But overall, I think trying to do this, the best option for now to start is to start translating this dictionary, and seeing how that goes. But I think this is something I will try to just keep up over the next several years and see how far I get. Maybe if I need a kind of a project to take a break from my kind of actual dissertation research and writing, but I think this could be interesting at least. And so I hope you found this a little entertaining at least, or maybe you found some new sources to help you with your own study of Chaghatay. So thanks for watching, and talk to you in the next video.